Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday afternoon's Premier League game between Hull City and Burnley. Matt, it's obviously a big game at the bottom. We'll start with Burnley. Do you think they're down after losing to West Ham?
Yeah, I think you have to say so, aren't you? I mean, you're looking at their form recently, six games without a win, haven't scored in any of them, 4 defeats in a row, and last time out against West Ham, you just had the feeling that obviously they won that game, still been in big trouble, but they had to win that game. I think you feel, they're looking at where they're on the table, they're 8 points from safety now, will be relegated if they lose this game, obviously, and I think just, Sean Dyche has come out after every game and, praised the commitment of his players. I think you can really throw that at them, but just haven't really had enough about them, have they? You talk about the fact that they haven't scored in 6 games, let alone, picked up anything from them, and 4 defeats in a row. They picked up a couple of points, obviously, with the 0-0s, but apart from that, the goals just haven't flowed, and it's about the West Ham game, obviously, had to go there and really force the issue and never really did it. It was quite comfortable. West Ham been in poor form, and I think you have to say they're down. Even if they win this game, obviously they can still go down, can't they? So big trouble.
Yeah, the West Ham game, West Ham going to that, they weren't in great form either, and it was just settled by a penalty, wasn't it? Kouyaté goes into the box, Duff sticks out a leg, a clear foul, but John Moss brings out the red card, and you have to say it's extremely harsh on Michael Duff. Yeah. Burnley have now appealed that decision, and you wonder what was going through the referee's mind, because Kouyaté, he is pretty close to the box, close to the goal. He's sort of on the edge of the 6-yard box, but there's one defender between him and the goal, and the goalkeeper's there as well, and it's quite a tight angle. You wouldn't say it's, he might have gone on to be able to poke it home, but it wasn't a clear goal scoring opportunity. The penalty was punishment enough there. There's no way that should be a red card. It's definitely a wrong decision, but it'd be interesting to see how the FA see it, because if they think, well, if he hadn't been fouled, he could have poked it home, and it could be classed as a clear goal scoring opportunity. He might still be suspended for this game, which is a blow for them. But I think when you look at the decision, there was not many people who thought red card. They're the sort of ones that you think a penalty should be punishment enough. Losing a centre back, that's so harsh as well. And obviously Mark Noble steps up, sticks it away. Decent penalty from him. He's usually pretty reliable from the spot, but. Yeah, the goals thing is massive, isn't it? Not being able to score in those 6 games. They had that problem, sort of around, was it October, November time, around sort of at the end of 2014 when they just struggled to score. Then they had that little rejuvenation. But yeah, on the whole, you look at Burnley's squad, they didn't sign too many exciting players in the summer. They did so well to get automatic promotion from the Championship last year, but you just think they didn't quite invest in the right sort of players, and it's just sort of caught up with them, the sort of lack of quality when you compare it to sort of other sides, that are fighting them for relegation.
Yeah, I think they did it the right way by the book, didn't they? Financial wise, didn't go up. You see a lot of clubs, QPR being one of them, who's splashed the cash, pay ridiculous wages, but they're probably going to go down as well with Burnley. But like you say, I think Sam Vokes has missed the last 2, and he might be back for this game, but he's not shown anywhere near the type of form as he's just been an injury hit campaign. He's been in and out, when he's been in there, and it's just the goals really. It's about Danny Ings. I mean, he's going to leave at the end of the season as his contract's up, and you wonder whether he's really, you can question his commitment really, but he's not going to be there next season, so you wonder whether he might have dropped off a little bit. I mean, interesting to see where he goes, obviously, and he'll obviously start this game. Might be him and Vokes up front, but the goals have just not flowed, and you talk about where they are in the table, and they really deserve to be bottom, because if you don't score goals, it's not like Leicester. You talk about them, they were bottom for so long, but they've started to score goals, still concede goals, but you look at what they've got up front, it's so much more dangerous than Burnley, and this is obviously another big game, but you have to say they're down. I think they're down, whether they get a win in this game or not.
Yeah, I think Hull will certainly view Burnley as a chance to sort of just, certainly relegate. They know if they win, they're going to relegate one of their rivals, so there's no danger. Because if Hull, say, went and lost their last 3 games and Burnley won their last 3, then Burnley would overtake them. So, Hull will definitely think that this is a chance to, put Burnley away. But they come into this on the back of a defeat. They'd won their last 2 games without conceding, but then they welcome Arsenal, who, sort of ran right in that first half, didn't they? 3-0 lead at half-time, Sanchez getting 2. The first 2 goals, Hull can count themselves a little unlucky, both big deflections. There's not much that Steve Harper in goal could do about either of them, but the third one was just, Arsenal, their counter-attacking best. Sanchez goes through on goal, beats the offside trap, goes round Harper and sticks it in. And, they won the second half, Hull, which is, a positive they can take from the game, that they did win the second half. Stephen Quinn with the only goal, a really good header as well. It was a nice floated crossover and a really powerful header into the corner, but, you look at where they are on the table now, they're 1 point above the bottom 3, they're sitting there 17th, just above Sunderland. Sunderland do have a game in hand, to be fair to them, so if they win that game in hand, Hull will be the team that do drop into the bottom 3. But we talked about Sunderland's run of fixtures coming up. They've got 3 away games at Everton, Arsenal and Chelsea, Leicester at home in their other one. So Sunderland's running isn't easy, even though they've got the game in hand. And Hull, you'd say at the moment they're looking pretty good, but the defeat to Arsenal won't help. But they've got some okay fixtures coming up, and you look at them and you think they are too good to go down. You look at across their team, and they probably just are too good to go down.
Yeah, you look about it, they've got goals in the team, haven't they, as well? I think they could have two big players back for this game as well. Curtis Davis at the back, who sort of gives them solidarity back there, doesn't he, with Dawson? I think you look at those two, obviously they play three at the back, but they're two good defenders, aren't they? Two good Premier League defenders, and Mohamed Diarmi as well, I think he's the big one. I think when he was at West Ham, a lot of clubs are interested. Liverpool got linked with him, didn't he? But he's been injured for some time, he's been in and out. But when he's in the team, he offers so much. I think, obviously, Bruce said, he could play for one of the top 7 teams, and I really think he could, he's that good. But if he comes back into this game, obviously, they'll look at this game, like you say, Burnley, massive, because the next 2 games they've got Spurs away, and Spurs will be keen to, they're probably out the race to the top 4, but they certainly will want to finish above Southampton and Liverpool, which they feel they can do. Last game of the season, they welcome Manchester United, who probably at that stage will probably need something from the game to finish top 4. You talk about what Manchester United have got coming up, some tough games, play Arsenal and Palace, obviously away at the weekend, so United will probably have something to play for in that game, and Hull don't win here and they go into those last 2 games, you fancy, like you mentioned, Sunderland game in hand, it's tough, and it is fascinating. But Dan, you talk about the 2, I think Burnley are down in QPR, but that 3rd place is very much open.
Definitely. I think Burnley, they come into this as not. They must think. I reckon they're probably in the sort of boardroom. They've probably talked about going back to the Championship and making those adjustments already. But look at Burnley; they've won their last 4 games against Hull, so that's a positive to take into the game. Do you think they can make it 5?
I don't know. I think you have to fancy Hull to win this one, don't you? I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. Burnley obviously can't find the back of the net in a minute, but genuinely defensive-wise, they haven't been too bad. They don't really get hammered in games, so Burnley not scored too many goals recently anyway. So I think Burnley will Hull will nick this 1-0.
1-0. Yeah, I think Burnley might break their scoring duck in this one, but I'm going to back Hull to win. I think they're going to come through 2-1. So both backing Hull to win this game by 1 goal. Thanks for watching.